debut of Half Horse Tarot. I am here with your free general August 2018 tarot reading. I'm going to leave some information for you guys in the description box below to kind of give you a little bit more insight into how I do my readings, and also just some tips and things to keep in mind as you watch other readings online. So I do want to get started on your reading right away. The central issue for the month is going to be the Four of Orbs, and this deck is a little bit different from the traditional tarot, and I will explain those cards as we go along. But this is the Four of Swords in the traditional deck. It is in the upright, so I think that the key thing for this month for a lot of people is going to be reflection, meditation, rest, recuperation, recovery, really getting yourselves in the right state of mind and place on a mental level, especially if you guys have been through a bit of an ordeal in the past and just really kind of recovering. I do want to point out one key thing is that this guy is completely enshrouded in black, which to me is kind of symbolic of removing yourselves from an equation to get a better perspective and a clearer perspective on the situation. You know, this guy's meditating in the water as the waves come in, looking out at the horizon, and there are some clouds in the sky, and they're pretty dark and nasty looking, but there is also sunlight there. So I think that a lot of people are waiting for clarity, or waiting for something to be revealed to them, and they're kind of in shadow until whatever that is comes into the light. Also, another thing to point out is that you can see that 3 of the orbs are above the man or individual, and 1 of the orbs is below him. And this does kind of resonate with the traditional deck. There usually are 3 swords that are above the person who's lying down in the bed, and then 1 sword beneath them. And so I think that that's kind of symbolic of maybe there is that 3 of swords, or in this case, 3 of orbs kind of mentality going on within your head. Maybe you are dealing with some past hurt, some breakups, heartbreak, whatever the situation may be, and that's kind of weighing you down mentally. But at your feet, you have this Ace of Swords, this new opportunity to go in a different direction, to really grow, to gain clarity, success, and victory, and really just everything that you've wanted for a while. And that is at your feet, and that is going to be on offer to you. But I do think that there's this element of working through kind of basically your crap until you can properly seize hold of that new beginning. So taking a look at your distant past, we have the 8 of Chalices in reverse. And for me, usually this does come up as people who are emotionally clinging on to a situation. You've invested a lot of time and energy into something, and I think you know deep down that you have to leave whatever this is, be it a relationship or a job, and this is in your distant past, so this may have been a realization that you had quite a while ago. But it's just a matter of actually putting your feet to the ground and walking away. That's the hard part, the actual commitment to doing so. I do think that there are others of you who are planning to leave. You just haven't been able to actually go about doing it. In other words, there's not really an emotional connection keeping you there. You've pretty much moved on. You're just sort of waiting for things to fall into place in order to make this leap of faith a little bit more tangible and less risky. In your recent past, we had the 2 of Flames, and this does kind of go back to what I was saying about some of you guys already having made a decision. So this is the 2 of Wands in the traditional tarot deck. I think that you guys have been contemplating and weighing up your options in regard to leaving a situation, a relationship, a job, cutting people out of your friend circle, whatever that may be. And I do think that a lot of you guys have actually made the decision to move on. Like I said, it's just a matter of waiting for everything to fall into place, and you're really just kind of biding your time. For those of you who haven't made a decision, I think you're going to be doing a lot of reflection and introspection this month, going back to the 4 of Orbs. That is kind of your central issue for the entire month of August. So I do think that you guys are going to be kind of taking yourselves out of the equation to be contemplating you know, which one of these offers you want to take or which path you want to follow. So all the cards that we have above your central issue are things that I usually see as being external energies to you. So these could be things that are going on with other people in your lives, things that people are doing to you, you know, things that the universe is bringing in, stuff you don't really have control over, or just things that are going on in your head. And for most of you guys, I do believe that this is going to be stuff that's going on, you know, in your head. We do have the Seeker of Orbs here, who is the Page of Swords in the traditional tarot deck. So I do think a lot of you guys are starting to have that kind of clarity that I've been talking about in terms of figuring out what it is you want to do and what decision you want to make. That is kind of in the incipient stages. You are kind of in this dark place right now, and you're just trying to use what light you have to see yourself through. And I think this card too is also about planning and starting to take the steps that you need to really move forward in the direction that you want, especially if this involves, you know, putting out job applications, communicating with people, networking, reaching out to people online to maybe, you know, consider starting a relationship, online dating, whatever it may be for you guys. You know, you're starting to put feelers out there. You're starting to really figure out what it is you plan to do and how you want to move forward. And then beneath that, we have the Seven of Orbs, or the Seven of Swords, which really gets a really bad reputation in most tarot readings. You know, people see it as the liar, cheater, thief, sneak. And I don't know, maybe that's the case for some of you guys. Maybe you guys have been doing things kind of in the dark that aren't necessarily up to par. But for most of you, I think it's going to be, because the Seven of Swords isn't just about being a cheater or a liar or a thief. It's also about using strategy and making a strategic exit or an escape. And so I think that there are a lot of you guys who have been contemplating, like I said, leaving behind a situation, and you're really just planning or trying to plan how you're going to go about doing that. And you know, it's just taking you some time to figure everything out. But ultimately, you know, there is this element, when I pair these two cards together, this element of strategy and planning and thinking, really evaluating something mentally, weighing up your options, doing pros and cons, and just trying to sort out what it is you're going to do and how you're going to do it. So beneath your central issue are the cards that are in your foundation. This can often be things that you already know, really old energies, or things that are in your control if they are a bit more recent. We have the Seven of Crystals, which in the traditional tarot deck is the Seven of Pentacles. It is in the upright, and again, this echoes what I've been saying about the waiting. That's really the key here. Waiting, evaluating, you know, you've planted some seeds, and you're just really waiting for all the steps that you've taken to come together and to bear fruit. So you guys have definitely been putting in the work. You have definitely been doing some introspection already. I think that a lot of you guys are just going to be continuing to do that this month and really, really strategizing and planning things out. As you can see again, in this image, we have this man here, and he's kind of off by himself. Those are people in the background over there by the tower, and it's kind of reminiscent of this card here with the Four of Orbs. Really taking yourselves out of the equation, kind of isolating yourself in order to get a clearer view, a clearer perspective. So I do think a lot of you guys are just waiting for something to transpire, not in the sense that you're waiting for something to happen, you haven't done anything to bring that about, but waiting for the seeds that you have already planted to kind of start to blossom. And beneath the Seven of Crystals, we have the Two of Orbs, which is the Two of Swords in the traditional tarot. And again, here we go with the juggling and the waiting. The different thing about this particular card is that this lady is not blindfolded, as she often is in the traditional tarot depictions, which kind of further supports what I was saying earlier about this idea of, you know what it is you want to do. It's just a matter of biding your time. So you're sitting there with the 2 orbs and, you know, you're kind of hanging out, but you already know what it is, what you want to do. You've already kind of made that decision. And, you know, ultimately, you're going to be the one to decide when to pull the trigger. And I think a lot of you aren't going to be doing that this month, just because going into the near future, we do have the 8 of Flames or the 8 of Wands in reverse. So I do think there's going to be delays in terms of travel and forward movement, maybe in communications, messages, especially if they are virtual, so over the internet or via text or email. So I do think there are going to be some delays, but I don't think it's going to be something that you didn't already anticipate, because like I said, pretty much all of this waiting, all of these delays are kind of self-imposed. You know, you're ready to move forward. You're almost there. It's just, I don't think that everything is quite the way you want it to be before you do decide to make that leap. And then in our distant future, we have the Sage of Orbs in reverse, which is this next version of the Queen of Swords. So this could be an air sign. We do have the Seeker of Orbs above you guys too, so that could be relevant. They would be male or female, sun, moon, or rising, and that would be Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini. If that is a person, you know, maybe this is the person that you're going to be leaving or dumping, or if they're your boss, this is the person that you're going to be moving away from, the person that you're really plotting to, you know, separate yourself from. And the reason why I say that is when I reflect this card over here, we have the 8 of Chalices in reverse. That is that Klingon energy, but we do also have the L-shaped clarification to the 7 of Orbs and the 7 of Crystals, which does lead me to believe that you've been contemplating making an escape from this person. If this is a person, you just aren't quite ready to do it yet. But I think by the end of the month, you're probably going to start taking some of those steps to kind of kick them to the curb or distance yourself from them. If this isn't a person, then I do think that this would just be echoing, you know, your own energy. This idea that, you know, in the upright, the Queen of Swords is somebody who is decisive, communicative. She makes decisions. She really takes no crap from anybody. And in the reverse, you know, normally this would be somebody who kind of takes on a really extreme version of all those qualities to the point where she could be abusive or really harsh in her communication. But I don't think it's that. Again, I do think it's more about waiting and biding your time and just really trying to be strategic and to make the best possible decision. Because when you do, if this is your energy, when you do flip this card into the upright and you bring that sword down, that's final. You know, what's done is done, and there is no going back, and nobody can stop you. Nobody can turn you off of the path once you are on it. So with it being in the reverse, I do think that there's this need to plan and strategize and make sure that this is what you want and that everything you need in order to achieve that goal is going to be in place for you before you do finally take that step. You know, the overall energy for the spread is the Adept of Chalices in reverse, or the Knight of Cups in reverse in the traditional tarot. So my one bit of caution to you guys is to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourselves on an emotional level, because, you know, I do think that a lot of you guys are stuck in situations that are kind of yucky and sticky and you don't really want to be there. And that can take a toll on you emotionally. You know, say for instance, you're in a job that's not going anywhere and you have to wake up every single day and go there. Even though you're planning to get out, you still have to go through the motions, and that can really deplete your energy. Same thing with a relationship. If you've considered leaving that person behind, but you have to wake up and see them every day and, you know, try to, I don't want to say pretend things are normal, but that's going to be the case for some of you guys until you're ready to kind of take that leap and separate yourselves. That can really kind of be emotionally overwhelming. So just make sure that you are keeping your emotions in check. Also, that you aren't emotionally manipulating anybody else. You know, if you do plan to leave a relationship, you know, don't screw with the other person's feelings. I feel like that should be common sense, and I shouldn't have to say that, but make sure that everything you're doing is above board. And, you know, I'm just going to throw that out there because the 7 of Orbs or 7 of Swords is here in the deck. And I'm concerned that some people might be doing some shady stuff that they know they shouldn't be doing when it comes to, you know, relationships in particular. So do just keep in mind that if you are trying to make a move that's ultimately going to better yourself, then make sure that you're doing right by everybody else around you, be that your boss, your friends, your romantic partner, whatever that may be. So do just keep that in mind. I also have another deck here. It's an oracle deck, and I use that to kind of tune into the past and future energies, just to kind of get a little bit more information about what we're dealing with here. And so in your past, you have the dog or the loyalty card, and you know, really just think about dogs and all of the qualities that they embody. These are people who are kind of larger than life. They are full of love. They kind of give of themselves wholly, to the point where it actually may be detrimental to them. You know, there are dogs who live in abusive households with abusive owners, and they continue to love that person even though that owner treats them like absolute dirt. And I think in the past, some of you guys may have been putting yourselves in situations where, out of loyalty to a person or out of loyalty to a job, you put up with a lot more than you should have. You know, you let yourself get into a position where you kind of sacrificed your own needs and your own self-identity for the good of other people or for the good of the pack. So I do think that's some energy that you guys have been dealing with, and maybe even will continue to deal with toward the beginning of the month. And then as we move on throughout August, we have dolphin or breath. And this is just kind of a spiritual reminder that you need to sometimes stop, slow down, breathe. You know, going back to the Four of Orbs here, this kind of meditation, this need to sometimes step away from something and take a break and just gather yourself. So for some of you guys, maybe you do need to take a break from your job, go on a little vacation, you know, hang out with your friends, whatever it may be, something to just kind of get you off of the track that you're kind of chugging down, which is fine to be moving down a path with purpose and, you know, decisiveness, but sometimes we can push ourselves a little too hard and, like I said, get overwhelmed really, really easily. So just make sure that you aren't putting yourselves in that kind of position toward the end of the month, that you run yourself ragged to the point where, you know, you're completely exhausted, or, you know, that you've kind of lost all of your steam because you've given so much of yourselves already. So there's definitely going to be a need for some of you guys to really just slow down and breathe. You know, not necessarily like take things easy and completely give up on whatever it is that you're trying to do, but really make sure that whatever you're doing, you're going into it with a clear mind, a clear heart, and that all of your decisions are going to be sound. So again, just to kind of summarize all of that, you know, you guys are definitely being faced with some sort of decision to make this month. I do think that a lot of you guys have already decided what it is that you're going to do. I do think a lot of you guys are planning on leaving something that really no longer serves you. It's just a matter of actually being able to do that in reality. You know, if it's a job, maybe you have to wait till you have another job lined up before you can leave the one that you're currently in. You know, if it's a relationship and say that you share a house together, maybe you need to wait until the lease on your apartment comes through before you end things with your partner, just to make sure you have somewhere else to live. Again, I do just caution you to make sure that whatever it is that you are doing in order to move away and make that escape is completely above board, and that you're not unnecessarily hurting other people or doing something that you know you really shouldn't be doing. And ultimately just remember that your journey is in your control. You know, you're going to be the one to pull the trigger and catalyze the change in your life. So do keep in mind that you control that, and when you are ready to go on that new path, there's definitely going to be a lot of positive things for you. It's just a matter of getting yourself there in the first place. So I do hope that that resonated with a lot of you guys. If it did, go ahead and let me know in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave them there as well. If you like the video, I would really appreciate it if you could just give it a thumbs up, share the video, subscribe to my channel. I do want to get this channel off the ground and going and make some more videos for you guys. I do plan on doing a mid-month update in the middle of August to kind of see how this energy is progressing and maybe reach out to some of you for whom this particular reading didn't resonate. It will be a shorter reading, so be on the lookout for that and subscribe so that you don't miss that. I really appreciate you guys stopping by and letting me do your August reading for you, and I will see you in the middle of the month with your mid-month update.